Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a movement specialist, and today I'd like to show you some movements from the Feldenkrais Method to help to release and free up sore or tight shoulders. So most people have something going on in their shoulders that needs addressing, whether it's just a bit of day-to-day tension building or a longer term issue that's happening there. I had a dance teacher who referred to the shoulder as the Clapham Junction of the body, and Clapham Junction is one of the busiest train stations in the UK. The train lines run in from all different directions and go through there. And it's a little bit like that with our shoulder. We've got muscles attaching from the neck, the arm, the chest, the back. It's a very complicated area and one that's easy to get out of balance. So could you just sit for a moment in any way that's comfortable and close your eyes and just feel any differences that you notice between your right shoulder and your left shoulder. Notice if one shoulder feels a little bit wider than the other, or if one feels higher. So maybe you sense the distance from the top of your right shoulder to your right ear, and then from the top of your left shoulder to your left ear. Just feel if the distance is different on one side to the other. And then please go ahead and have a lie down on your back. And you can lie with your knees bent or your legs down long. You could put a firm towel or something underneath your head if you need a little bit of extra support there. And just take a moment just to feel how your shoulders rest when you lie down. So do they just drop into the floor, or do you have a sense of them holding away a little bit into the air? And notice if your right shoulder does something different to your left. Does one rest more easily than the other? Notice if one feels wider. So could you feel the distance from the outer edge of your right shoulder to your spine? And then from the outer edge of your left shoulder to your spine in the middle. And just notice if one of those distances feels greater. And then please roll to lie on your left side. So for the sake of the camera, I'm going to lie the other way. And you can bring something underneath your head again if you'd like to. Could you bring your right palm on top of your left palm? And just a few times can you make a movement of lifting your hand to arc it up towards the ceiling and then lower it back down. Just that a few times. And just notice how you feel as you do that. Is it a lot of work in your shoulder or is it easy? Some people might do it and they just move the arm and keep the chest still. Notice if you're doing that. You can try it that way a couple of times and just feel how much work is that in your arm and in your shoulder muscles. And then the next time you do it, could you look at your hand so you follow your hand with your head turning, your eyes stay on your fingers, and come back down. And same thing once again. And see if you can do that, keeping your breath easy and moving with a minimum amount of strain. So please always look after yourself as we go through the movements and don't push into anything that's uncomfortable. Okay, take a rest for a moment, just check in with how your shoulder's feeling. And then could you imagine you have an additional eye in the center of your chest, and that as you open your hand up towards the ceiling once again, that this eye in the center of your chest is also going to look at your hand as well as your actual eyes. So now you're opening your chest towards the ceiling more. And it might feel, to begin with, a little restricted. So just go within your easy range. See if you can do that without lifting your top leg or rolling your pelvis backwards. So for now, you want to keep your pelvis just where it is to start with. Okay, and then please leave that, take a rest. And then when you're ready, could you one time arc your hand back towards the ceiling, also opening your chest to the ceiling, allowing your head to turn. And then leave your arm there, and a few times could you reach your arm towards the ceiling and then let your shoulder sink back down as though it's kind of sinking through honey. So you might notice at the beginning your arm comes down in a series of judders, like jut, 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 which is very normal with all the muscle work that's going on in the shoulder. But can you go small enough and slow enough that you start to find, how can you find just a little bit more smoothness in the lowering of your arm? Nice, and then please bring your arm back to the front. Leave that for a moment and just let yourself take a rest. So we're going to add on a few more bits to that movement. So could you one time again arc your right hand up to the ceiling, allowing your head and your chest to really open to the ceiling. And this time, at the same time as you reach your arm, could you also rotate it around its own axis, a little bit like the movement of screwing in a light bulb. And just notice, which way do you spontaneously rotate your arm? So mine rotated in this direction, as though my thumb was turning downwards to a thumbs down sign. Some people might like to do it the other way. So could you let yourself play with both combinations? So one time you rotate your arm anti-clockwise, one time you rotate it clockwise. All the time just really listening into you. How do you sense your shoulder moving? Can you sense the motion of your shoulder blade at the back? Can you feel your collarbone at the front at the same time? And also just feeling at the same time as you reach and rotate, just a little bit of movement start to get fed into your chest or your neck. Do you feel something happening in the ribs? In the ribs below your armpit, in the center of your chest. Okay, and then once you've explored that enough, please leave it for a moment and just let yourself come back and rest on your back. And just notice, how do your two shoulders feel when you stop and rest? Can you tell which shoulder you've been moving and paying attention to? Notice the width of each of your shoulders. And just sense if one feels larger or more present. And then please roll back onto your left side once again. Have your knees bent. Have your arms out long in front of you. And could you come back to arcing your hand towards the ceiling and then back down a few times. And just feel as it's starting to get a little bit easier to turn to open your arm up to the ceiling. Is there more movement available in your ribs? And then next time you're there, if you pause with your hand towards the ceiling. And now at the same time as you reach and rotate your arm, could you allow your chest and your head to turn back towards the front where you started from? And then as you let your shoulder sink back down and you let your arm unrotate, could you let your head and your chest return towards the ceiling? So reaching and rotating your arm in one direction as your chest and your head are rolled back towards the front. And then your chest and your head roll back to face the ceiling as your shoulder comes down and your arm unrotates. And just going really gently, listening to all the parts of yourself. See if you can find this very smooth quality of movement. You can also play with rotating your arm the other direction as you do it. And it's, for most people, one of those directions will be much more comfortable than the other. It's not because one is right or wrong, but it's just we have different habits in the way we use ourselves. Some people like to do things one way, some people like to do things the other way. Okay, and then please leave that. Let yourself take another rest for a moment. And just noticing if your right shoulder has changed again, if it feels different to your left shoulder. But also notice the whole length of your whole right side from your shoulder down towards your right heel. And then on the left. And just notice if the movements have had a more global impact than just on your shoulder. And then please come up to sitting for a moment. Take a moment just to sit and just feel how do your shoulders feel now. Does one shoulder feel lower than the other or wider than the other? And then in your own time, when you're ready, please go ahead, have a lie back down and repeat the movements to the other side. Great, so thank you for watching and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.